Hey, this is episode 119, and I'm still doing this whole remote thing, not in the studio. But enough of the talk. Let's play the intro. That's right. This is episode 119 of the UFO Report. I am Manny Moonraker with UFO Buster Radio. And some of you've been around forever. You know what I do and what I'm about. And the fact that this podcast is somewhat explicit, but it's about talking about ufology. It's about talking about the things that matter to the people who care about what's unknown, unidentified, and filled with a bunch of wacky people which you can't really explain or ignore, or you can't do anything with them these days, huh? They just do what they do. That's episode number 118, if you guys were here. And again, I apologize because the first time we tried that portable mic, and it was portable crap. Should have just left it in the toilet somewhere, because that's what it sounded like, basically crackling bullshit on my microphone. And I mean, come on, I just got nominated for the 2018 Podcast Awards, and one of the categories is quality. Well, fuck my life. Quality went through the toilet that day. And if you're listening and you're part of the final board of people that's going to make a decision, hey, come on. Be easy on the old Moonraker. It's a thing. We have to try it. We can't just go out there and expect to be able to test shit constantly on the fly. So I put the podcast together. It is what it is. We talked about Stephen Greer in 118 because, there was a news report that was relevant to Greer and all his wacky madness. And I told you guys, there's a part of Greer that I like because it's the analytical UFO, not so much UFO, should I say, more the analytical emergency room doctor or the traumatologist that comes through in everything he does. But then I get an email. The email is about a set of DVDs he's selling. And let me just give you the list of the titles of these DVDs that he's selling for you guys who really love Greer. The first one is The Untold History of Disclosure. Not sure that there is a disclosure history, but it's in DVD form. You get two for the price of one. An expose of the national security state, because he knows a lot about that. The European connection. You guys in Europe, apparently Greer thinks you're connected to the history of UFOs in the United States or somewhere. The history of new energy. Not sure we had old energy, but anyway, Greer has a DVD on that. Contact Disclosure, the workshop intensive. Definitely something you should do because you might end up on a beach somewhere identifying flares as UFOs. The Crossing Point of Light. Not sure what the fuck that means. And last but not least of this goodie list of Greer DVDs, Remote Viewing, Cosmic Consciousness, and Contact. I don't know. But listen, if you guys want these DVDs, you can go on to SeriesDisclosure.com and get them all for 160 big ones. Because according to this ad, if you buy them separately, it'll cost you $200. I will pass on that, and I'm thinking some of you will also. I don't know what to do about Greer. Like I said, he's got these moments that are fantastic, and then you get bullshit like this in your email, and you kind of wonder about that. And don't get me wrong, I for some reason, no fucks given, I think that remote viewing is a real thing. I actually believe in it. But what the fuck does Stephen Greer know about remote viewing? When was the last time he remote viewed anything? I can't answer that. I know no one can. So, hey, it is what it is. But this is a side of Stephen Greer that drives me bananas. But today's UFO report is not about Greer. I just had to throw that in there because it just so happens about an hour before I started recording this that I got that email for those DVD sets. But we are not remote viewing, but remote recording. So you guys let me know what the quality of this audio is. If it sucks to hell, let me know. This is not a new microphone, but we are in the middle of Dallas somewhere recording. The place will be unknown, undisclosed, just to add to the mystery of ufology and this podcast, which is about the topic. But the story today really is about something that happened in Australia. That's right, down under. Down under, there was an incident over the weekend, last weekend, should I say, where an Australian man apparently came across some craziness. The man's name is Paul Steinberg, and Paul was basically hanging out at home in North Caulfield, and he was in his driveway when he saw something really strange and unusual. Now, my hope is, in this remote madness that I'm doing, is that the title pick for this episode actually is a picture of what he took while he was outside this past weekend on Saturday. According to this article, which it's also linked in the description for you from aunews.com, a Melbourne family claimed to have seen something unexplainable hovering over their house over the weekend and even managed to snap a picture of the mystery object. When you look at the object, for those of you who have been following ufology for some time now, it is quite familiar to you, but I'll let you know what that is in just a moment. The descriptions that Mr. Steinberg gave the news source was that the object was moving silently through the sky, and he couldn't figure out whether or not it was moving really quickly. But he said after a few minutes of just standing there, just still observing it, he determined that it was moving extremely fast, so fast that it tickled his fancy, and he decided to get his wife and 2 other kids outside to come look at this thing. Now, the part of the story that drives me bananas, and I'm going to share it with you anyway because that's what I do, is that he says that the entire family is a bunch of amateur plane spotters and also astronomers, and so they're used to seeing things like satellites and, crazy-ass shit in the sky like that. But he says that the stuff that this thing was doing did not fall into satellites, did not fall into the category of airplanes, but shit, he had to share that with the whole family, so he brought them all out to go look at the sky. He says that the actual object was probably 1.5 kilometers above them, but even at that height, Mr. Steinberg says that this object had to have been extremely large because the lights were very well distinguishable from the undercarriage of this thing. There's a quote in here by Mr. Steinberg, and it says, "It was a very steady and silent for most part, but when it got into the distance, it started to move around erratically, up and down, left and right, and all over the place." Steinberg even said that there were times where the lights would disappear and appear somewhere else. By his summation and that of the rest of the Steinberg clan, this was not an airplane. It was not a satellite, and it wasn't anything that they were used to seeing. In fact, somewhere in the article, he did mention that he felt that if this was a drone of any kind, it was a pretty big goddamn drone. I mean, he's talking, it was humongous, something you see like in Marvel superhero movies. So the thing was huge. And he said that it was moving extremely fast and silent, and the whole ordeal took about 10 minutes. So he had a good time to just stand there looking at this thing, trying to figure out what the heck it was and what it was doing. Now, like I said earlier, for you guys who are, UFO aficionados, who have studied this so-called ufology thing for some time, even in passing, or you could be an amateur, or as we've talked about on this particular show, those that call themselves enthusiasts. If you look at the photo and this remote stuff worked accurately, it is a picture that we normally see associated with a TR3B, and that is the 3 red lights in a triangular shape. Now, I would hope that someone that's an amateur, or to say a self-proclaimed amateur plane spotting watcher person, that Mr. Steinberg and the fam really did take the time to study this before claiming it was something that was unknown. The truth is, you see these 3 lights. Now, the only thing that we don't see is that a lot of times in this TR3B sightings, we do see that clearer light in the center of the triangular-shaped object. We don't see that in this one, but maybe it was playing peekaboo with the people in Australia. Nonetheless, it's an incredible sighting, and again, we have someone who, for the most part, give credit where credit is due. He does say he has some experience with this, and he did spot the object flying over his home. The TR3B is synonymous with people who believe that in the conspiracy that the UFO situation really is man-made, and maybe it's a craft that was designed from re-engineered UFO 4.24 alien crafts that were recovered. And according to your boy, Corey Good, the TR3B, it's probably one of the ships they used to travel 4.2 far into the cosmos to start up shit with aliens. He's another one that I don't know if we can believe. A lot of his stories are really far-fetched, but according to Paul Steinberg, he captured on film what basically could be a TR3B down in Australia. Okay, listen, here's a lesson for everyone. Get your whole family involved. Let them all have a camera. Come on. I'm pretty sure every single one of them had a cell phone. They could have taken multiple pictures and triangulated and done something to come out with an actual size for this thing. Because I would think that people who are amateur plane spotters do all sorts of crazy shit when they're looking at planes. Because I look at planes all the time. I drive by an airport daily. You don't see me standing out there spotting planes. No fucks given. I really don't care. As long as it goes over and doesn't come down on me, I'm good. I'm good. So we will continue to test this whole situation about, remote recording. And the whole idea is to try to bring forward some more episodes during the week instead of this one and the reruns. Unfortunately, last week we did not do a rerun episode because we had some business travel to take care of, and we were not in the state of Texas. We were in sunny Florida, admiring the red tide and the dead fish at the shore of the beach, and it smelled wonderful and something we'll never forget. But as always, the link for this article, the full article, is in the description. You can read a little more about what Paul Steinberg said him and his family experienced just this past weekend. We're not talking about 4 or 5 decades ago. We're talking about this past weekend. For those of you in the U.S. of A., you were enjoying Labor Day weekend. Paul Steinberg and his family could have come close to celebrating Probing Day. If you haven't already, follow the podcast on Facebook, the pages Manny Moonraker and UFO Buster Radio, on Instagram at Manny Moonraker, and also on Twitter at UFO Buster Radio. The app is still there in the Google Play Store. Try it out, test it, send me a message, let me know what you think. I spent the last 3 weeks pretty much in a copyright infringement war with the people that I actually paid to be able to use sound effects. So that's why there is no music, background music on these last few episodes, because I've been fighting the people I pay to have their music to no folks giving me about playing their music, even though I'm paying for it, and saying that I broke copyright. I don't know how that shit works. It seems you get rubber dicked in anything you do, regardless if you pay for it. So I basically paid someone to rubber dick me over the last 3 weeks. Thank goodness that's already been taken care of. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know about the app. What do you think about the UBR UFO News app? Let me know what improvements you want and what things should go and what things need to stay. The app is for you and for me to to communicate. But if you have other things to say, share it through social media. Let me know. This is Manny Moonraker. I'm signing out. I'm looking forward to adding more episodes during the week. And we may even get rid of this, UFO report numbering thing. It's just going to be the goddamn UFO report. Who cares what number it is? Just look at the date. Your app tells you if it's new or not. Forget about the numbering. This is for the birds. Keep your eyes on the skies. Don't take no shit from anyone. Ciao.